6 questions to ask in a software tester interview. Question 1. Why do you want to be a software tester rather than a developer? Why to ask the question? Some people become software testers because they think it's easier than software development. If they like to write code, they figure that their automation code won't be held to the same standards as the application code. What answer to look for? Look for answers like, it's fun to think of the things that can go wrong and test for them. I like finding bugs so the customer won't experience them. I like to think of the application as a whole rather than focus on just one feature. Question 2. Tell us about an interesting bug you found. Why to ask the question? People who truly enjoy testing will have favorite bugs. An amusing bug, a bug that was very hard to find, or a bug that would have meant serious problems if it had been released to the customer. What answer to look for? Any bug is acceptable here. What you should look for is the candidate's face lights up when they are talking about it, and they have a sense of pride when talking about how they found it. Question 3. How do you decide what tests to run? Why to ask the question? If you are looking for a tester who will make strategic decisions, you want to make sure that they know how to make decisions about test coverage and that they can explain their thought process. You do not want to hear, I just test what my manager tells me to test, unless you are looking for a very low-level tester. Good answers could include, I look at which features have been changed, I consider the flaky areas of the application, or I think about the most important user flows. Question 4. How do you decide what to automate? Why to ask the question? You want to make sure that the tester knows not to waste their time automating tests that will be flaky or unhelpful. Good answers could include, I don't automate tests that will only need to be run once. I don't automate tests that have a dependency on another company's software. Or I automate the most important features of the application. Question 5. How do you decide whether an automated test should be an API or a UI test? Why to ask the question? You want to make sure that the tester knows not to waste their time automating UI tests that should really be API tests. Good answers could include, tests of business logic should be API tests, tests of user flows should be UI tests, or tests that don't need the UI to validate functionality should be API tests. Question 6. How do you stay up to date with what is happening in the world of software testing? Why to ask the question? You want to know that the tester is passionate about their craft and is always looking for ways to improve. Good answers could include reading LinkedIn articles, listening to podcasts, reading blog posts, watching how-to videos on YouTube, reading books, attending conferences, or taking courses. 6 questions to ask in a software tester interview. Why do you want to be a software tester rather than a developer? Tell us about an interesting bug you found. How do you decide which tests to run? How do you decide which tests to automate? How do you decide whether an automated test should be an API or a UI test? How do you stay up to date with what is happening in the world of software testing?